Okay, great.
Good. Okay, well, I will start off with just the updates that I have. Our grant award has now been signed by the commissioners and has been, the CJC is in possession of that. So that will go to recording with the commissioners at their next meeting. With that, I will still need to do a budget amendment, but I was hoping our group would be bigger for that because we really need to look at how we want to adjust the funding for the deflection coordinator, which right now we believe is somewhere around $80,000. And we had put all of our funding into housing and detox, I believe, currently. So looking for any recommendations, guidance from the group as to, do we want to pull percentages from both of those funds? I don't know if we would be able to fulfill the detox contract if we pull any funding from it, because I think we had a very set amount that they had agreed to for us to be able to pull those beds, but it may be that we reduce 2 beds to 1 bed if we needed to pull money from that line item, or reduce housing costs. And so looking for recommendations from this group.
What is the total amount of the grant?
341, I think. And our costs, I don't have it in front of me, but I think our costs for detox were to the tune of, was 150 a day times 2 beds. Times 365, I guess, right? So, is that right? That's how that math works.
No, I don't think that's right. I was trying to find the.
Let's see if I can figure it out.
Grant.
Well,
Is the most. And the housing, was that contemplated for like hotel rooms?
yeah, 10,000.
Temporary housing?
Yeah. Which, and I think from our provider world, is that, do you think that, I mean, what? Is that probably the biggest priority for cases that you encounter is temp housing? Is that a big priority or no?
The housing, I'm sorry. You're gonna have to ask that question again because
Okay.
I was kind of paying attention, but also I was not.
Yeah, so we built our budget a little bit off existing programs that we have, such as LEAD and needs and pretrial. And so we put a substantial amount of funding into temp housing for hotel rooms as an example for people while you're trying to get them stable to get them to a point of being able to assess accurately and make referrals. From your point of view, how often are you utilizing those kind of resources for clients you're working with now?
Go ahead.
A lot. As far as like hotels and things like that, we don't really have too much access to funding for that, but like getting people into detox, things like that, the CARES program sometimes helps out for housing, hotel until we can bridge that gap.
Okay. So I know that there's other funding sources available for housing, like we have to tap into those funds, but we do struggle with getting people in because we don't actually have funds for that specifically. If you're asking us versus, there's other organizations in Lincoln County that provide services that actually has much access to housing, like they have greater access. But I think that we could, we put people up at the homeless shelter all the time at Helping Hands. So that's one of our immediate resources that we do have. I think if you're asking how much could we take from the stabilization line item, is that what you're asking, Adam?
No, it looks, maybe we already pulled that.
Jen, I think it was originally contemplated, I think what we thought was that the, coordinator wasn't gonna come from this 341,000. So now it is coming out of that pot of money, which means we have to reduce the other line items that we had in that budget. My question for you, though, as far as housing is, I mean, thinking about the population we're gonna be dealing with here, user quantity, drug enforcement misdemeanor charges only. Okay, so not ones that have other charges. So is putting them in a hotel a good option for that population? Is that a safe resource or, I don't know. So I guess I'm asking you if that's a safe resource for somebody.
I feel like it can't, yeah, yes, I'm gonna say it can be a safe resource for somebody if they're going to be seen the very next day or within 2 days, for services by a peer. Yeah, it is a safe option if they don't have any other alternative. And then we can work on getting them into treatment and whatnot.
I would think like the immediate referral would hopefully be straight to detox, right? Like if detox isn't an option per se, and that's what that individual needs, then yes, to keep them safe in a hotel, like until the next day, like let's say detox says they have a bed available tomorrow at 2, then I think that would be a good option. But personally, from an addict's perspective and what I've seen in working with people already in sort of a deflection response is if I give them a hotel, I'm kind of giving them a night to kind of stay sober and chill out and get warm. And then I have a really hard time making that contact the next day. So sometimes I think there's a little bit of beauty in the struggle, if that makes sense.
So it looks like right now we did account for in our latest budget. Well, in a proposed budget, I should say, that we actually accounted high for adding the deflection coordinator in at 108, which I think we think is going to be closer to 80 now. And then we have 150,000 to detox.
Mm-hmm.
And then 47,000 to housing. And then one quick point, then Guy, I see you there. We really, I think, need to be looking at this funding carrying us through 6 months at the most at this point, because we're so late in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So we may be fine all the way around, even if we just stick with those generic numbers. That's a lot of money to try to push out. The other thing, though, is my assumption is whatever we don't use will be carried over for the gap until the legislature sets funding, which will occur in August, September timeframe. So I think the money's there, and maybe we don't need to overthink this too much as I'm looking at it. Guy, go ahead.
Well, having listened to everyone for these many weeks, it sounded to me as if the consensus priority was detoxification, and so I would be very reluctant to go down from the 2-bed to 1-bed. And I hear what you're saying, Adam, that maybe we won't exhaust our funds. So if I would say we should prioritize detoxification, again, based upon the priorities that you said at the very outset, that was the number one priority that we were hearing from the treatment providers. And then
Mm-hmm.
it is the treatment, I think it is the treatment providers' call here. I think you're doing the right approach by asking Jennifer what she thinks. But I would suggest that we get a consensus of all of the stakeholder treatment providers to see what they think. And I respect what Jennifer is telling us, but I think we ought to hear from everybody, and we're
I
shorthanded
agree.
today, to get a
Mhm.
consensus from them. Again, I'm leaning towards detoxification from what I've been hearing. Let's get a consensus from the other treatment people to see if they concur or if they disagree.
And I can get an email out to everyone and just pose that question, and I can resend the budget so everyone can see it. And I think that is the best route to go.
We had also had some discussions surrounding, do we want to look at taking any portions of that money and setting it directly for services, i.e. Phoenix or reconnections for their
24/7
type
response to.
So I think we need a bigger group discussion about it. And
About the budget and
get everyone on board, yeah. I'll send out an email with the budget and what some of the options are that we're discussing, so we can get more feedback from a broader, from the broader group.
Let me interrupt. I didn't raise my hand. One other suggestion is, let's get this thing up and running, that we don't necessarily, as Adam's suggesting, we don't necessarily need to make that budgetary call now. But if we got going for 2 or 3 months, we're going to see which services we're utilizing more. Are we using the detox as much as we anticipate? Do we need the housing because we're using it? So I mean, we may be better positioned to reallocate once we've got a track record of seeing where people are going.
And I think you're right about, I think the state's expecting that across the board from everyone. That's why they're allowing budget amendments at the end of every quarter. So as it stands right now, our budget amendment that we would be requesting wouldn't actually be processed till the end of the next quarter, which is at the end of December, but it can be backdated to the beginning of July regardless. So
Are we penalized at all with how long we've taken to
I
get
don't
this
believe so.
off the ground?
No.
Okay.
at
But
this point, it's likely gonna be the first of the year,
Oh,
because the
yeah.
position's not posted.
from what I've learned, what I believe, we have to have this off the ground by December 31st. Don't quote me on it, but I think that's the date to even receive our funding. So we need to at least be delivering some services, even if it's not, even if the deflection coordinator is not in. But to give you an idea, I had to submit a quarterly grant report for this project last week without even, I mean, the award was signed the same day that I actually did the report on the first quarter. So, and there, I think that's just the state wanting to track, are you delivering services? Where are you at in your process? So I basically combined our discussions in this room into where we're at and what we're working on. So I think we'll get there, but I just want to make sure that we have clear direction and kind of have these discussions now. And again, I think starting to deliver services is the most important thing for this entire group, and getting people connected in deflection services. And then we can we can consistently reevaluate where we're at and what we're spending our money on. That's the budget side. What I know about the job description, which we have discussed several times in here, as of late last week, our county administrator, Tim Johnson, had reached out to DA Wallace, if I understand this correctly, and said, our HR director is supposed to connect with you regarding the final questions that they have for the job description. DA Wallace took initiative and reached out to the HR director, and that's the last I heard. I don't know if there's been any response or any work done between the two of them since last Thursday. That's
We need to go back to the BOC meeting again.
She's gonna call in. She just responded to some of the sick kid, I think, and she said she's gonna call in if it's not too late. And I told her to call in, so hopefully she'll call in and give us an update. I did see her on Friday. We had the lunch with the Chief Justice, and I just asked her if she'd heard back from Mr. Johnson, and she said she had Friday morning. So, but I don't know if it was actually finalized.
Okay.
So I'm hoping it's actually posted, but I don't, she would have received confirmation of that, so. And she's calling in right now.
While we wait to see if she's able to connect, we could do introductions really quickly, just because we missed that. I'm really sorry about that.
I'm sorry. Adam Shakes, Administrative Lieutenant at the Sheriff's Office.
Judge Bacher, the circuit court.
Ian Williams, parental probation.
Jamie Russell, Sheriff's Office.
Jess Palma, Sheriff's Office. Jen will have,
Jen Metcalf, Phoenix Wellness Center.
Nicole Reardon, Phoenix Wellness Center.
and Guy, you're muted now.
Guy Greco, Defense Bar.
Great, thank you, team.
So we sit in silence waiting for Data Wells.
I'll send it to her so it's at the top of her.
Okay.
Too,
Okay.
just in case.
I'm checking the job openings.
Shh, gotta be quiet.
Oh, there she is.
Okay.
Hi, Dia Wallace, we are here if you can hear us.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you, thank you.
Okay. I'm so sorry. I'm home with my daughter today and I spaced on the timing. So if you hear a squawk in the background, that is her. I apologize.
Great, we're just happy to have you.
So I did just check the county career page or job page. The position is not publicly posted yet. I did have a back and forth with David Collier, who's the director of HR, on Friday. He did say it would be posted. He said probably not on Friday, but on Monday. But it's obviously lunchtime on Monday and it's still not posted. I can do a follow-up email with him to see where we are on the time frame, but I was told it's supposed to be posted.
Great.
So all the
Nice.
hurdles have been cleared for it to be posted, to your understanding.
Yes, that is my understanding. I looked over the job description, the final one that they sent me. There was only one edit that I changed. There was still a portion where it mentioned like assisting clients or participants into getting into treatment. And so they took that piece out because based on the email exchange I had with them, it sounded like if that person was doing that, they would actually be eligible to be paid more. And so they took that piece out, and it should be what what our committee essentially put together is what the final approved job description was.
How long will it run?
I think it will run until filled, is how I filled out the position requisition. My hope is that if we have a couple candidates in the next, honestly, 2 weeks, I think that we should start doing interviews as soon as possible and try to get it filled as soon as possible.
Sounds good.
Agreed. And you think we're up against a December 31st deadline?
I think so, yeah, I mean, that could continue to be extended because it's kind of been a moving target for the state, but the last I knew when we submitted our initial grant application, they said that counties who are going to be receiving this funding have to be up and running by the beginning of the calendar year.
Mm-hmm.
So what level of up and running, I think, is defined by the county, the individual county. So just be delivering services.
Well, I think we do need to answer the question though, because once we have this position posted and we have somebody in that position, we launch this. What we're envisioning is, the boots on the ground are gonna be our treatment agencies, right? The Tribe, Phoenix, and Reconnections.
Yeah.
So are they going to be able to bill us for their services, right? Is that a line item that they're gonna be able to bill us for? So we have to have, I think we have to have that answer at least, right?
Correct. And we're gonna have that system in place
Right,
to move forward,
right.
for sure. And I think right now, how our budget is outlined, we can do that relatively easy. The only piece will be how we navigate the temp housing costs. If our providers place someone into a hotel room, how we make that as seamless as possible, so it's not
Mhm.
a broken process or reimbursement. We'll just need to get that figured out, and I can work on that internally over the next couple of weeks to get that aligned, so that's not going to be an issue. The other thing we're gonna need to do is get a contract in place with powerhouse. That's gonna be the next step, to have that ready to go. And we can work on that with legal as well. So a couple of things still lingering out there, but I think our pathway is starting to open up as we move forward and get to that point.
And I think Reconnections is already a vendor within the county because we have,
Phoenix should be too.
and I don't know about Phoenix.
I think
Have we paid?
through Burn, right? No, am I wrong?
No. They do
No, I
it.
think it's Lincoln County Reconnections and who else? Don't quote me. I mean, I'm a
But it's
newcomer.
not difficult.
Yeah, it's not.
We would just have to get their W-9.
Yep, we'll get
Send it
those.
to finance and then they would assign.
Can be managing the grant, like who's gonna, where these bills go and.
Well, hopefully, and I don't want to step on your toes, D.A. Wallace, but hopefully the ultimate goal would be to have that run through the deflection coordinator. Is that correct?
Yes, I think that's in the job description actually. So yes, I do agree with that.
So the coordinator would be, handling the invoices and approving or disproving those for payment for services and for housing and those types of things, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would envision those like for hotel stays. If the providers were able, and I don't know, Phoenix, if Phoenix has like a credit card that you would pay for, a night or two at a hotel and then that you would submit for reimbursement.
Yeah, I think that would probably be the best way to do it.
Probably similar to how we do treatment court billing, things like that, Judge.
That's what I was thinking, was kind of envisioning, because the providers bill for their services and they're reimbursed through that programs
Yeah.
to that.
And DA Wallace, have you thought about, or are you envisioning a interview team or panel for these interviews for that position?
Yes, that was my hope. I think I had asked the sheriff to be part of it, and I think he might even be a subject matter reviewer for just any of the applications that are coming in. But as far as the actual interview process, yes, I think what I would love to have is a treatment provider representative on there, someone from law enforcement, whether that be the sheriff's office, and then obviously I will be on there as well. But if there are others who want to be part of that process, I have no problem with that. I think the more the merrier.
Great.
So do we kind of think, so just making sure I understand this, that we really don't have to do a budget amendment right now?
We have a
Roll
couple
this out?
months.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that we'll be fine there. I just want to kind of get it on the table if we do need to make adjustments, so we're not up against the next.
Sure, so we could actually be delivering services before any budget
I think
amendment.
so. I think we have our funding in the right places to do that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
The only thing, well, I'll get back to you because I know we need to do a budget amendment to get the deflection coordinator costs to the state, which we haven't done yet, but we have built a budget internally to reflect those. And I think we still have enough funding for everything that we talked about. So we just need to get that to this and I can do that.
So I'm just thinking, like you guys said, that we may have some experience with how we're using our resources by the time we have to submit a budget amendment,
Yeah.
like. Are we using the detox bed or housing costs?
And so the
or-
detox beds, that's still to be, like a contract put in place for that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, but Adam's right. I didn't realize how the bureaucracy worked. We've got to let them know we're paying 80 grand for the coordinator, which we haven't done yet.
Yeah. I tried to achieve that for this first quarter, but I didn't meet that. Weren't able to meet that timeline, but it can be backdated to July, as far back as July. So we won't need to, obviously, we have delivered services, but be able to get it this quarter without issues, so.
Okay. So you're gonna do a new budget thing, because the last one, it shows powerhouse, stabilization center, and lodging. We had those three broke down. So you're gonna redo one and put in the coordinator cost, right?
Yeah.
And in your descriptions for each one of these, where the descriptions are, the contractual service narrative for your stabilization center, which was $100,000, was working with the county's behavioral health. They're not going to do that, so you can,
That's
Take it.
where we need to have further discussion with a bigger group.
yeah. Okay.
I think that's the money that we talked about.
Moving.
Taking, yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense, but
Mhm.
build it and they will come.
Right?
It's true.
Hang on.
Anything else?
Yay on the job description. Congratulations. Hard work. You guys rock it. We're making some progress, and let's get this budget thing dealt with and looked at. In the meantime, while we're getting a coordinator hired. What do you guys say about that?
That's great.
When's our next meeting?
We meeting it on Monday.
Up to the group, at this point, it sounds like we've overcome some of those hurdles that we were trying to accomplish over the last few weeks. Do we want to go 2 weeks from now? Is everyone good with that?
Sorry for the, it's a holiday.
3 weeks,
2 weeks from now. Okay.
Or we can
Hold
do
on.
a Tuesday.
or a Tuesday, yeah, whatever you guys think. We're
The
open.
12th.
The 12th.
Does that work?
Perfect. Yep. November 12th. Yay. Noon. Yep. Deflection. The 12th at 12.
12
Sure.
to 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
And somebody bring lunch, please. Oh, I could. No. You guys have a-
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thanks.
Bye.